of the Rutherford County Regional Planning Commission. If you would stand with us, please. Commissioner Pettis Reed will lead us in our prayer and our pledge. Pettis.
Most gracious Heavenly Father, we offer our thanks for the day that you've given us. Father, we're so thankful for the many blessings that we have, but may we always remember that the blessings that we do have come from you. Father, we ask that you be with us as we go about this meeting, as we go about the deliberation of the important things that concern this county, that you give us the ability to make the right decisions. Father, we're thankful for this county and the importance it is to each and every one of us. Most importantly, Father, we're thankful for what you do for us and watch over us and protect us. Be with us now. Guide us and direct us. We offer this prayer in your Son's holy name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Call the roll, please, Gail.
Jim Averwater. Pettis Reed. Here. Mike Cush. Lee Bogle. Here. Charlotte P. Rhonda Allen. Here. David Jones.
Here.
Craig Lynch. Chip Pinion. Marvin Whitworth. Jeff Phillips.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Gail. This time we need to approve the minutes from our June 13th meeting. I'll call on our Vice Chair, Pettis Reed.
Mr. Chairman, I have read over the minutes. I haven't found any problems with it, so I will make the motion that we approve these minutes from the June 13th meeting.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes for our June 13th, 2022 meeting. All those in favor of that motion to approve, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. We have no items that have been withdrawn or deferred. Getting into our new business, item 6A, we have one item that's been submitted for a site plan approval. Item 6A1, the item number is 203011, Buddhist Temple, construction of 3,500 square foot building for a community assembly use on 7.9 acres zoned RM located along the Old Nashville Highway. WITHDRAWN is the applicant. Doug.
Yes, sir. Thank you, and good evening, everyone. This applicant is proposing, as you stated, to make an addition to the existing Buddhist temple. This is for a freestanding building toward the rear of the property. This site plan was approved by the Planning Commission back in March of 2020. Site plan approvals, according to the zoning ordinance, are valid for 18 months. It's been longer than that, and they haven't gotten started with any construction, so they're just asking for reapproval of the site plan. A representative of the Buddhist temple came and met with Mike and myself about a week or two ago. There's really no changes to this plan. We're comfortable with it. It just needs to be reapproved. So with that, we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Motion approved. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the site plan for the Buddhist Temple, item number 203011. Questions? Comments? All those in favor of the motion to approve, please say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you. 6B, we have two items that are submitted for a rezoning request. Item 6B1, the item number is REZ 22-019, Taylor Ford for Lebanon Road Partnership. Location is 5160 Lebanon Pike. Commission district is 2. The county commissioner is Steve Piercy. The size of the site is approximately 16 acres. The tax map is 46. Existing zoning is RM for residential medium density. Proposed zoning is CS for commercial services. Doug.
Yes, sir. Thank you. The applicant would like to zone the property, as you stated, to commercial services to build a mini storage facility along with retail. The retail would be along the frontage of Lebanon Pike. Mini storage buildings are classified as general personal services by our zoning ordinance. They're only allowed in the CS zone by special exception. So even if this were to be approved, recommended tonight, and then ultimately approved by the county commission, before they did any kind of a mini warehouse type facility, they would have to get special exception approval from the Board of Zoning Appeals. The applicant is aware of that. The retail on the front, however, depending on what it is that they're going to put there, as long as it meets the requirements of the ordinance, there'd be no reason that they would have to go to the BZA, provided it was a use by right. A concept plan has been included with your agenda packets. Again, this is not a plan development application, so it's not binding, but it does give you an idea of what direction they'd like to go with this. Of course, if this were to be approved, they would have to submit an engineered site plan that would have to be presented to the Planning Commission and would have to demonstrate compliance with our regulations. The access to the property would be, of course, along Lebanon Pike. They are showing 2 different access points. This road transitions from a 2-lane to a 3-lane as one travels northbound along Lebanon Pike. We did ask the applicant to evaluate that as they plan their access points. Also, the intersection at Lebanon Pike and Central Valley Road is not currently signalized, but if you recall, over the last few months, we have considered a couple of different plan developments at the intersection of Central Valley Road and Lebanon Pike, as well as one a little further down Central Valley Road. There will be a traffic signal constructed at that intersection, and there will be turn lane improvements coming off of Central Valley Road onto Lebanon Pike. So we've asked the applicant as well to take those improvements into consideration as they contemplate how to design their particular site. They will also be required to provide a type 2 buffer along residentially zoned property lines. This is an average width of about 30 feet, which can be reduced to 15 if they do use a solid privacy fence, visual screen. Existing materials can be used. There's also requirements for landscaping in the parking areas and any outdoor storage areas for vehicles. Again, this would be contingent upon, if they were to get approval, of course, they would have to submit an engineered site plan demonstrating compliance with our regulations. They would need a buffer on the north and the south side, as you see. On the east side, of course, is the heavy industrial. That's the landfill right across the river. And in Lebanon Pike, we don't require buffering along the western edge because it's the right-of-way. And of course, our performance standards would apply. We do feel that this area is kind of a transitional area. Recent approval of the crossings at Walter Hill, which again is the planned development directly across the street, actually included a commercial element kind of near the corner. So this isn't out of character with some of the other land uses that we've seen in this area. As time goes on, we would expect to see additional rezonings of some of these properties. With that, we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for staff? The applicant here.
Chairman Phillips, Commissioners, my name is Clyde Roundtree with Huddleston Steel Engineering. I'm here representing Mr. Ford on this project, and if you have any questions specifically for me, I'll do my best to answer them.
Any questions of the applicant? Very good, thank you.
Thanks.
We're ready for a public hearing. This time I'll declare a public hearing open for REZ 22-019 Taylor Ford for Lebanon Road Partnership. Anyone wishing to speak for or against this rezoning request, please come forward. Seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Commissioners.
I do have a question. It says retail buildings in the front of the property.
Yes, that's correct.
So what type of retail?
Well, I don't think they've got anything necessarily specific in mind, more speculative, but whatever would be allowed in the commercial services zone, general retail trade, restaurants, personal services, office, things like that.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I feel that this rezoning request is in line with the properties up and down that area, and therefore I'll make a motion to approve a recommendation to the full commission.
We have a motion and a second to approve REZ 22-019 Taylor Ford. Those approvals is with staff comments, I'm assuming? Very good. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of that motion to approve, please say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you. You go ahead and pass along that this body is a recommending body. There'll be a public hearing before the full Rutherford County Commission on September the 15th. That'll be a Thursday evening in this room. And those public hearings are usually held at 6:30. 6:30 on September 15th. Item 6B2, REZ 22-020, Mona Partners 1 LLC. Location is Mona Road. Commission district is 3. The county commissioner is Michael Rather. Size of the site is approximately 13 acres. Tax map is 12. Existing zoning is RM for residential medium density. Proposed zoning is EAC for employment and activity center. Doug.
Yes, sir. Thank you. As you stated, the applicant would like to zone this property to EAC. They'd like to build a truck trailer storage area. This would mostly be for overnight parking of 18-wheeler trailers and would not be a manned facility. The concept plan has been included with your agenda packets, as I discussed regarding the last application. Since this is not a plan development application, this is not binding, but it does give you an idea of the direction they'd like to go. Of course, if this were to be approved, they would still have to submit an engineered site plan for our consideration. This concept plan does show 2 connections to Bill France Road. No connections are shown onto Mona Road to the south. We do have concerns about the condition of Bill France Road and the I-840 interchange, and we would expect to see a traffic study along with an analysis of the condition of Bill France Road should this application be approved and a site plan submitted for Planning Commission review. EAC properties are required to provide type 2 buffers along residentially zoned property lines. This site is a little unique in the fact that it's completely surrounded by right-of-way, regardless of what side you're on. You've got Mona Road to the south, you've got Bill France Road kind of wraps around it to the north and west, and of course you've got I-840 to the east. There would be no buffering required. We did say to the applicant's design team when we first started talking about this, we would like to see some sort of landscape area at least, and I think the concept plan does at least show a little bit of that, but as far as any specific buffering requirements, there aren't any. And the performance standards, of course, would be applicable to this application as well. We do feel that should this property develop, it probably will not develop in a residential manner. It's surrounded by right-of-way on all sides, as I stated a minute ago, most significantly to the east by 840. This property is also within a half-mile of the Nashville Super Speedway Activity Center, which is Mike's kind of highlighting where the Speedway is on our comprehensive plan. The area is identified as an activity center, which is kind of centered right around that particular just right in that general area. So this area does contemplate those type of uses in the future. Although located in Wilson County, some of the property around the racetrack has developed into warehousing and distribution uses, and we feel that these factors will continue to contribute to other rezonings in this area as well. We did already mention our concerns with 840, so if this were to be approved and a site plan submitted, we would want to see a traffic study on that, and again, a report outlining the conditions of Bill France Road. But overall, we do feel that this application is consistent with the comprehensive plan, and we'd be happy to answer any questions. They'll open a public hearing in just a minute. Okay.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. Doug, could you refresh me on the one at Epps Mill Road that we approved? Was that a PUD or was it similar?
It was EAC as well.
Okay.
It was.
Okay, and then there was also one for boat and RV storage in the same area, or south of there, I think on the other side of the interchange, in that same interchange?
Yes. Now that was also zoned EAC.
Okay, just want to make sure we're consistent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for staff at this time? Is the applicant available? Please come forward. If you would give us your name and address, and then address us and tell us what you have in mind.
My name is Chris. Good evening. My name is Chris Rudd. I'm the applicant for Moner Partners 1, representing this site. I don't know if you all have any questions. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Give us some idea or thought of what you have in mind for this piece of property.
Sure. So this property, we are proposing to develop into a tractor-trailer storage facility, which would mostly store vacant tractor-trailers overnight. It would be fully fenced, so we would grade it into a more or less level property that would be fully fenced and gated for, again, as Doug mentioned, an unmanned facility to park tractor-trailers in overnight. It will be lighted. It'll have overhead lights.
Just to clarify on this, these are going to be empty trailers stored there, but not people passing through that would have access to the gates. I'm referring back to the one we approved south of Murfreesboro. So these are not for drivers coming to this facility overnight, parking, and then moving on in the morning.
No, it's not. No, it would be a master leased facility just for trailer overflow.
Okay, for
not
the
like a
distribution
truck
centers
stop.
and stuff. Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify. Not a parking area for pass-through trucks.
Oh.
Okay.
No, just for trailers. And keep in mind, this is right next to, obviously, all the new warehouse facilities over by the racetrack. So it's, pretty close. They're all right there off Bill France, obviously in Wilson County. But the warehouses?
Ma'am, not yet.
Mr. Chairman, I've got a question.
David.
Is your company going to be in charge of abandoned trailers and time limits on these parking spaces? In other words, what if one gets left?
So
Several get left and they,
Sure, that's a great question. So the way that it works is we will have a master lease with a company like, I'm going to make up a name that everybody knows, but we're not working with this company, but somebody like J.B. Hunt, who has, thousands of trailers on the road, and they will lease it and put their trailers in there. So it's not every random driver who may want to park a trailer overnight. It's not that type of facility. It's a master lease with a professional company that parks their trailers there. They manage their trailers. So that's kind of how it works. So it's just one lease on the whole facility. They're empty, typically. I mean, they may have pallets or something else in them, but they're typically empty. I don't think they want to leave a whole tractor trailer full of TVs or anything out there. Somebody may get wise to that, so they're typically empty. Yeah, if you look at a lot of these industrial parks, I mean, the whole premise behind this is when you look at a lot of these industrial parks now, there's so many trailers on the road because of the shift in our economy to e-commerce that you're seeing these tractor trailers stack up and these parks are getting parked on the side of the road and parked all over the place, and people need a place to put these trailers in a reasonably well-located facility. This facility is really excellently located because it's literally right on the side of 840 at the exit ramp. And as Doug mentioned, I mean, pretty unlikely to have residential developed on this piece of property. It's basically solid rock with a few cedar trees on top, right on the side of the interstate. It's very well located for this use, especially given all the warehouse development that it's occurring around and off of Bill France. 267 stalls is what's programmed.
Is that the type of traffic you expect every day?
No, they're usually about 50% full, something like that.
140, something like that a day?
And sometimes they stay for a month. I mean,
oh, really?
Yeah, so it's not daily in and out. These trailers, you see them sitting around sometimes. They'll sit for a month before they move to a new facility.
Well, that makes sense with the layout I was looking at because I was trying to figure out how someone would circulate those. So they'll be backed in, dropped, move on, may stay there for a period of time until needed at a warehouse facility or or a
Exactly.
swap out or whatever that may be.
And usually the master tenant will have somebody in a pup truck that backs them all in and they'll have somebody on site that manages the movement of the trailers. So it's not even the over the road drivers that are backing them in. It's a specialized person who does that.
Other questions of the applicant at this time? Thank you. Any other questions for comments for staff this time? Okay, this time I'll declare the public hearing open for REZ 22-020 Mona Partners 1. You're up now, young lady. Anybody, come on up. Our public hearings are usually restricted to about 3 minutes, but if you need more than that, you take your time. If you would, give us your name and address.
Approximately 10 acres on Mona Road.
You would talk into the microphone.
I have approximately 10 acres on Mona Road. I've gave my daughter a piece of land. What are they going to do with all the diesel fuel and the brake fluid and the rotted tires that come off these trucks? We're on well. We can't even get city water or city sewer. But you're wanting to put a truck depot, which we have Love's truck stop right down the road. Now they can hold up to 250 trucks at a time. Where are they going to dump when these people go to the bathroom? They're already peeing and pooping all over the side of our road. So now what's going to happen when you have a depot here that can run these many trucks around here? Now 20 years ago when the racetrack came, I filed just for a bait shop. I couldn't have fuel, I couldn't have bathrooms, I couldn't have anything. But we have a multi-million-dollar boat ramp down here with multiple parking spots for the county of Rutherford County and our TVA. I mean, I'm sure y'all know about all of Mona Road. It dead ends into the water. Now, why would we let somebody come here and put all this diesel fuel in our water that we can't even get sewer and water on our side? But everybody else by the racetrack got city sewer, city water, everything. 28 years ago, when we moved there, 840 wasn't even done. Then they built the racetrack. I've been a plumber for 38 years. I said, well, why can't we run a water line under there or a sewer line? Well, it's not necessary. Well, evidently it is, because when y'all do that, all the sewage and stuff that comes from there, brake fluid, grease, everything going right straight into my pond and my wells. Now, if there's not a problem there, I don't know why y'all keep raising my taxes. And I'll end it with that right there. Thank you very much. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you. Doug, would you, if you would, kind of go over an explanation of what would happen if this is rezoned at the site planning process?
Yes, sir, I'd be happy to. If this were to be recommended approved tonight, this is just the first, and Chairman Phillips had mentioned this earlier in the meeting, this is just a recommending body tonight. This would have to go to the full county commission next month for final approval. That's just, again, for the zoning. That's not approving their site plan. If they were to get approval, then they would have to bring an engineered site plan back to our office. The concept plan that they've got in their agenda materials here is just that. It's conceptual. You know, this is not, we're not approving the design of anything tonight. If anything's approved, it would just be the zoning of the property. I mean, just looking at it, I mean, there are things on there that I know would have to be amended and changed anyway. So, but that's just kind of a rough overview of what the process would be. So even if this is recommended for approval tonight, it still has another meeting, and then they would have to submit an engineered site plan. So there's still some steps to go.
All of those health conditions that you talked about would all be addressed to meet or exceed county standards to retain all of the issues that you brought up, and they would all be addressed to meet or exceed our expanding standards during the site plan process, and you would be more than welcome to attend all of those meetings so that you could see what was going on. Maybe one other point, I'm not 100% sure that I'm 100% correct on this, but the water and sewage that you mentioned for the racetrack is all Wilson County, correct? Okay, very good. Thank you. Anyone else?
My concern is, you know, you're saying it's not residential. You're acting like it's on this side of the racetrack. It's not on the side of the racetrack. Where you're wanting to put this is on our side in the community, a residential area. We have trucks coming down through there all the time, backing up and pulling out and turning around. And you know what? I have them parking right there beside my house. There's nothing I can do about it. You don't know how many times you have different people coming by and stopping and using the bathroom right there on my property. I've called the trucking people. I've called them and I've asked them to stop their people from using the bathroom on my property. Now, you are in the residential area right there. You come around, you come off the interstate, and and you're wanting to put all these trucks in here. How many people you coming in and out of our neighborhood? Not only that, and just like I say, we can't get water, we can't get sewer. We begged for 20 years. We begged for water, we begged for even sewer, we begged for all this stuff. Gas, they won't give us nothing. And y'all wanting to come in and put a business there. Y'all don't need water, y'all don't need sewage. You know, do we have to keep putting up with all these people using the restroom right there on their property? You know, if you're not going to furnish all that to those people, then they're going to be using it right there on my property because I'm exactly right there on the other side of the road. It's not out there near the racetrack. It's on the other, that's on the other side of the interstate. We're on this side of the interstate toward the lake, where everybody could be fishing and hunting, camping and all that and enjoying their life, and y'all wanting to put all these trucks on us. I disagree. If you tell me how you can keep them off my property, you're going to put me a big fence down through there and keep all these people off my property? Because I fight it every day. Every day. I just want you to know, you know, I don't think it's fair for y'all to bring something like that in on us. And you know, you're going to furnish water, sewer, and put the fences up because that is a residential neighborhood right there. Any questions for me? Appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
So Chris, I understand you're the one that is leading this for the people, whoever is doing this. Are they anonymous? Can we not know who they are? Because since you're just representing them, you're not actually working for the company, you're just a third party, correct? It's your company? What is it? Okay, cool. That'd be great. So that is a big problem where we're living at. Like Delilah said, this is the residential, okay? We understand. We don't have a problem with the racetrack. We have no issues with the racetrack. It's over there across the interstate, okay? You literally have to come across the bridge. If you look at the map, which grants you, we have 7 families down there, but you know what? I don't care if it's 2. It's still residential and it's still our community. And so when you're bringing in all these truckers, and whether they're trailers or whatever, you have drivers. You have drivers that are moving these trailers. They are going to be parking on this parking lot. They're going to have to get out. They can't get there by themselves. Please don't shake your head. They are moving these trailers. There are people that's going to be doing this. Like Delilah said, they are going to be getting out and using the bathroom. We see it every day. I try to hide my grandkids' eyes just coming down there because you never know who is around that curve, okay? We do call the cops. Rutherford County knows all of us very well. So it is an issue. It is an issue when you are bringing in all of those trucks, whether it's 50 trucks, 75 trucks, or 197 trucks. That's a lot of trucks when you're bringing it into a residential community. And I don't think you would be buying a house living by that as well either. So, yeah, you know, and it is dangerous. We have a lot of women that live out here, single women. Are we armed? Damn right we are. We do. We have to protect ourselves. But we shouldn't have to against this because it is a problem. We have truckers that line up sometimes all along our road. And we do call the sheriff's office. We do get them moved. But we're constantly having to watch it. We're constantly having to watch out for each other because it is dangerous. You never know what you're going to come up on or who's going to be standing there. Any given time, 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, they can be standing out there by the stop sign taking a peek.
Anyone else? Is there anyone else wishing to speak for or against this rezoning request? Anyone else?
I guess mainly my concern is just safety. I'm single. My best friend also lives with me. She's single, and you know, we like to be able to walk our dogs and do things, but you know, we can't do that. We can only walk so far down our property because we have truckers at random parked down there doing either using a bathroom or doing God knows what else they do down there, you know. You know, it makes it not safe for us. And, you know, I've personally lived there with my family for the 28 years, and they were nice enough to let me put my house on the property to share. But it's not what it was when I was growing up. You know, we used to be able to walk across the field to our neighbor's house and play with their kids, and we can't do that anymore because with all these truck drivers coming in at random times, you know, it's not safe. You never know where they're going to be hiding. There's plenty of places to hide out there. There's been a couple of times I even found one guy just laying out there in the street. His truck was up there at the hill and laying down there. Also, I was leaving one night and a truck driver, I guess, got lost. And up there at the dead end, he pulled up there at the dead end right there and then pulled off, I guess getting back up, and pulled off to there's a house that sits on that road as well. And he was in their yard stuck. I don't know how long he was stuck there. I didn't have time to sit and wait on him, but I mean, those people had to deal with that. I didn't, but if it happened to them, with them stopping and turning around in our yard, I mean, it's just right next to the road there where they'd have to turn around. So, safety, and also, you know, water and everything. Like my dad had said earlier, our water has gone downhill. Like, we can't even drink our water anymore. We have to buy our water because it's already, everything that's already happening right there has already affected it. So dogs drink it because my older dog's got a tumor in her head and cause of it, but I wasn't drinking it, she was, and now she's not. So all concerns, and that's really all I have to say.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Mr. Rudd, would you please come back up? Can you give this commissioner and this commission an explanation of what you know is going on there right now and what will be going on there if this is rezoned?
Sure, I'm happy to. So we own the property presently, and I'm not aware of anything going on there. I've been out there many times myself, and I have not seen any of the activities you're talking about. Of course, it's possible. But I do want to clarify a couple things for the record. One is we're not operating a truck stop, so there are no trucks and drivers parking. The way that this works, to be clear, and I should have done a better job explaining this than I did, but the way that it works is that we will lease the site to a master tenant who operates a bunch of tractor trailers. They own the trailers, not the trucks. Sometimes they own the trucks, but the trailers are what we're talking about. Those trailers get dropped at a distribution center, very likely right down the road by the racetrack. Then they run a small driver and a pup truck and one of those little road, non-over-the-road tractors to go pull those trailers in and store them overnight before they get picked up to go to Louisville, Kentucky, or wherever it is they go. Yeah, and so it's trailer parking. This is non-refrigerated. This is just trailer parking. So this is not diesel dumping, tire changing, bathroom usage. I mean, this is not a truck stop. This is a trailer storage facility. So I think that distinction is important because I understand what you're saying, but I also think there are some new truck stops. And I mean, I'm sorry, I wouldn't want people using the bathroom in my yard either, or on the street in front of my house. So totally respect and understand that, but I don't think that it's fair either to cast this type of operation as the kind of people who are going to go to the bathroom in the middle of the road. I don't think that that's a fair conclusion to draw. So I think that's important. But this will be fenced, this will be landscaped. The stormwater is maintained fully on site. We have to develop, which we have done, preliminary designs already. But obviously in accordance with Doug and county staff, we're going to have to design a plan that meets all of their standards. All of the stormwater on site, to the extent stormwater is a concern to you, and I think that's one of the things that you mentioned, will be captured on site, stored and released slowly, that won't impact your property. Well, well, you said. Well,
sir, public hearing has been closed. Would you please continue?
Sure. In any event, this is not a maintenance facility. This is not a tractor trailer tire storage facility. This is licensed, insured, new trailers that are stored temporarily. The point is to get them off the side of the roads where they're getting parked right now and have a nice facility to park them. It's gated, it's fenced. We're fine to discuss fencing options, buffering options, those types of things we're very open to. But this is a property on the side of the interstate. at an exit ramp that, to their point, does not have utilities. So the development opportunities here are somewhat limited until at some point in the future water and sewer do come, and they will at some point in time, but I don't know when. This allows us an opportunity to maximize the use of the property for the time being that's right on the side of the interstate. So I'm happy to answer any further questions, but.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Rhonda.
Have you operated this type of business somewhere else before, or is this your first time doing something like this?
No, we have several of them.
And so talk to us just a little bit about what the experience has been for those neighbors in having something like this near their home.
Sure, and again, I think that is one of the things I'm failing to communicate clearly. I can tell by the response. This is not an active truck driver parking area. This isn't a place where truck drivers come and spend the night and camp out and go to the bathroom. This is a place that's operated as a professional facility where, you know, a small delivery truck pulls these empty trailers around, because the empty trailers don't weigh very much. So they have these trucks that are tagged for the road, but you don't see them driving on the interstate, that pull these that pull the trailers around, and they park them because it's a fairly tight facility. So you don't want every truck driver in America coming and going from this, because they'll run over the gates and do the things that people are talking about. So the way that the tenants manage these, it'll be a singular tenant. The way that they manage them is they have professional drivers that pick up their trailers at the distribution centers that are right around the corner. There's several of them up and down the 840 corridor, mostly in Wilson County. But they'll pick them up, they'll bring them there for some period of time, whether it's overnight or 2 weeks. Usually, if it's just overnight, they'll leave them at the DC and they'll come pick them up in a few days from there. So it's usually longer term storage when they're in between loads going somewhere. They store them for a period of time on this lot. But again, they're professionally driven by the lot drivers that just drive those trailers, pull them on and off that lot.
So you're not aware of any significant or ongoing complaints from neighbors in the areas where you are currently operate these?
None. And we've done a lot of development, and there are developments of different types where we've certainly had neighbor complaints, but of this type, we've never had any neighbor complaints, in fact. Sure. There's some really nice ones out there. But we're happy to bring in include with the property a restroom trailer like you're talking about. I think that, you know, personally, I think the blue single house style is somewhat unattractive. I don't think anybody wants to see that, but a nicer trailer like you're talking about would be fine. I mean, we'd be willing to do that. That was serviced regularly, no problem. Sure, understood.
But to follow up on that point, but if you provide that, that's going to be inside the fence, gated, and for use of that master tenant only?
Absolutely. Yeah, so it's an electronically gated facility. It's got video cameras. It's, you know, nice fence. I mean, you know, we're not talking about a ratty looking facility.
Well, I want everybody to understand you're not solving their current problem.
True.
You're just addressing your project.
Absolutely. But, you know, we don't want people using the bathroom on the side of the road in front of our property either, nor do I think our tenant does. So we will be absolutely incentivized to make sure that doesn't happen. I mean, that's not the type of establishment we're trying to run.
It looks like from this tentative plan that there's no need to go on Mona Road at all.
There's not. We've been very careful with the design. It also falls that direction to Mona Road. Now, the stub road of Mona Road sits above us substantially, so I think the properties that we're talking about are all substantially above us. Mark, I don't know how many feet, maybe 20 plus feet above us, but we're kind of, it falls to the back of our property. You can see the topography lines there. It falls and then runs over to the lake. So our detention pond is down there on the low side, but then if you look at how, you can see the topo lines coming up to where Mona Road stubs out and used to cross before 840 went in, where Mona Road used to cross all the way through. You can see it right there. That sits higher than our property. So we sit lower, and our pond is going on the lowest side. So yeah, so 2 points. I mean, one, we sit lower, and two, we're not accessing Mona Road. We're coming off Bill France.
Read these people who've lived in that area have some concerns, emotional concerns, and maybe rightfully so if what has been going on out there is accurate. So you explain to me, this commission, and to those people out there, what is going to be different after this property is rezoned and you've built on it?
Sure. Well, I think for one, this is kind of an overgrown, unmaintained property. There are no structures, there's no homes on it. It's just a vacant piece of land. So the first thing is we're going to clean it up. We're going to landscape it. We'll maintain the landscaping, obviously, on a weekly basis. It's going to be fenced and gated. It's going to have activity, but it's also going to be fully monitored with security cameras. It's going to have lights. It's going to have all that. So to the extent we could aim some cameras along Mona Road. I mean, don't want to be invasive, but I mean, if we have a problem, until tonight, I was unaware of the problem that you guys have talked about. I'm certainly sensitive to it, and I'll do whatever I can to stop it, but I think it'd be pretty easy for us to direct some cameras that way, not towards your homes, but to the extent we have trucks parking there, or people using the restroom, or littering, or doing anything else, we can certainly capture them on camera at a minimum, and we'll pick it up and clean it up if that sort of thing happens. But I can't prevent the public from exiting the interstate and doing something that they shouldn't be doing. But we'll certainly do our part to keep our site clean and to prevent any issues to you guys as neighbors. We want to be a good neighbor. We don't want to cause you problems or harm. We've tried to be careful in the design of our site. And I think surely with monitoring and just active use instead of a vacant piece of property, we can curtail at least the lion's share of that type of behavior.
Thank you. Any other questions, commissioners, for Mr. Rudd? No. Thank you.
Thank you.
The public hearing is closed. I'll reopen it. I will reopen it if you guys have any other questions or any comments that you want to make. I'll be happy to do that. I'll declare the public hearing open. Now you're up. We got it.
I don't know if where I live.
Ma'am, if you could do a little better job of talking in the mic. People on TV probably can't hear anything you're saying.
Okay. Where I live is right directly across from that. Where he's wanting to put the truck stop is right directly across that. He says that he don't have to come down Mona Road. They don't plan to come down Mona Road. Well, then they're going to come up there at the interstate because they rerouted Mona Road, and that is coming down Mona Road. So, yeah, I get, you see right there where his property is and my property is, I get trucks after trucks after trucks, people after people using the bathroom over here on my side. Because there's a pull-off right there, they've got to pull off and everybody pulls off there. I've got signs up, I've got no trespassing signs. I've called every trucking company there is in Rutherford and Lebanon to stop it. And I've even told the lady what kind of T-shirts and everything it had on. And they deny theirs. So, we really have a problem here. And, I don't know where he's not thinking that it's on Mona Road. Because if you're coming off there, it's on Mona Road. And if you're coming up to the cul-de-sac and you're going to go in that way, you're right there in our neighborhood. So I don't like people coming using the bathroom on my property at all. I'm fed up with it. But now you're going to put more people out there, and as you said, how many lot drivers will you have? You haven't told us that either. You said you've got lot drivers, but you haven't told us how many different lot drivers you're going to have. If you're going to have 267 places for them to park their trailers, there's going to be several lot drivers, right? So we're going to be putting up with that too. And I'm telling you, they just jump right out and they go right over on my property and use the bathroom. And I am sick of it. So I'd appreciate it if you do whatever.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Ma'am. So I am familiar with Mona Road, and it's not really built for truck traffic. So when they're coming off, where are they going, and how are they turning around? I mean,
There's a cul-de-sac right there. There's a cul-de-sac up there. If you come,
I see the stub. It's big enough for a tractor trailer to turn around? Because sometimes those stubs are not big enough, but that's where they turn around?
Yeah, they are turning around right there. They're turning around, backing up, and what they're doing, they're pulling up beside of my property there and backing up and then pulling out. They were training their truck drivers. I don't know if they're still doing it or not, but they were even training their truck drivers, bringing them out there. And I told that one lady, I said, well, they had pink T-shirts on, ever who was training them. They got right out of their truck, and they had papers in their hand, evidently going over their instructions or whatever. They were going over them. And 2 guys went to my side, and 2 guys went to the other side and used the bathroom. And here they are. They own the truck, and they're training their truck drivers.
So have you spoken with Greg Brooks at the road superintendent at the road office?
Who?
Greg Brooks. He's our road superintendent.
Road superintendent.
Have you contacted?
Well, I've talked to a lot of people.
This is the only reason that I asked, because if there's a pull-off there and it's not there for some safety reason, or there's some need that, as the road superintendent, he can identify, there may be some barrier he could create that would disincentivize them.
I've been through TDOT. I've asked for that. I've asked for them to put up signs or something, saying they can't park there, so they can't go to the bathroom.
It's not a state road, it's a county road, so that may be a conversation. And Doug, if you'll make a point, will you reach out to Greg and see if there's anything they can do? And this is not going to, the vote on this is not going to solve your problem, but I wanted to try to solve your problem if we can.
That's what I say. If it's, he's saying he's not going to come down Mona Road, well, that is Mona Road, because they had to reroute Mona Road.
Ma'am, what is your address again? I just want to make sure we got it right on.
11836.
Okay, so that is your property.
Mona Road.
Okay. Now the way, this is what our mapping system shows. We show the curve all around there being Bill France. So when we're saying no access on the Mona Road, we're talking that part in the lower part that Mike's kind of highlighting there. They're showing 2 access points onto Bill France. One kind of near the intersection there where Mona Road, you can see that little cul-de-sac down there, and then one a little further up the road. Those are where the access points are going to be. So I think Bill France actually goes all the way to it, basically T-intersects into Mona Road, and that's just all Bill France. So that's what we're calling Bill France, which I think you're referring to as Mona Road. When we're referring to Mona Road, we're just talking about that area down there where the little cul-de-sac is.
Can you pull that GPS back up and kind of point that out?
The only way to get to Mona Road is to come down through there.
Right. And I guess what the point was is we didn't want to see any access points on the Mona Road either, so they're showing 2 access points onto Bill France. I guess that was
that little wide spot there. You can see it right
there. Toward the top there. Is that what you're talking about? Where it kind of widens out there?
Down at the bottom here. You can see they pull off there all the time.
Oh, you're talking right in here. I see what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, right there. Right there. They pull off. That's where they always pull off, and I deal with it almost every day.
I think what Doug was saying is that, what's the name of that France Road?
Bill France.
Bill France Road is where the access points are going to be, not on Mona Road. But that's also what you're talking about. You're probably referring to that as Mona Road as well. Is that right?
Yeah, that is, well, it's the only way to get them on.
Yeah, we're talking about the same area.
Yeah, right between the property he's talking about and my property, because mine runs on the other side of the road. His is over here, where he's wanting to park all the trucks and stuff, and mine's right here, residential.
Yep.
This place, when you say that they're pulling all
Craig, is your mic on?
Is it on now?
Now it is.
Is it a wide spot that's been over the years? People have parked, and it gets a little wider and a little wider. And now your house is within sight of that spot.
Oh, yeah, I'm back in there.
Okay, so like Commissioner Allen said, if you can get our road commissioner to stop that from being that.
I've asked them.
Where they could block that off, put up some signs with some orange and black paint on it, like they do, and drive it up where they couldn't park. Is that where they're doing the turnaround? Is that where they're doing the turnaround in that wide turnaround?
In the where the cul-de-sac is, where they back up right there.
Is that now the cul-de-sac? I'm not thinking cul-de-sac somewhere. Where's
Yeah, the cul-de-sac, it's, if you were to come all the way down Bill France and take a left. Yeah, back toward the interstate. That's where that is.
Okay.
That's his property that he's trying to zone right there.
Yeah.
Right.
Right across the street from the
So, but the cul-de-sac in a wide spot has really got nothing to do with him, because they're coming in up there, so his drivers can't even get to that wide spot.
Yeah, his drivers have to get to that wide spot, because they're going to come down through there. Where's he going to make his entrance? Up there off the interstate?
It's above. Is it above that?
There's two There's one right where Mike's kind of moving his cursor around, and then there's one a little further up the road. There's two access points.
Okay.
Right now proposed.
Can you move the entrances a little further?
Well, again, this is conceptual, what you're seeing right here.
Yeah,
they'll have to submit, right, if this is approved, they would have to submit a site plan. I mean, even if this is approved, they're not locked into what you're seeing on the screen.
So what I'm saying is, if we could move those two entrances a little further, I guess to the north, where it wouldn't be in front of her house?
Yeah.
Where they wouldn't come in and out.
We could move them a little further. Now, I think we need to be careful where that curve is, though. We want to make sure we're maintaining sight distances and things if somebody's coming around the curve.
Yeah,
but I mean, there's room for working on different
if they can move
alignments here.
And to get the road superintendent to block that rest area that's been made over the years, it would solve a lot of this problem.
Putting guardrails up, or
put some of the big rock that we got in our county right there. That's sort of that'll stop it.
Yeah, y'all got that riprap, don't you?
But I think that would probably help. But orchestrating the road superintendent situation with this, I don't know, Mike. Don't throw this in your lap.
Well, we'll have to check the road book and see if that part of Bill France is in the county's inventory. That might still be part of TDOT's right-of-way, but I'm not sure.
County cuts it.
The county does cut it? Okay. So if it is they do cut it, it would be a county road of that section. So
couldn't we as a county aid this lady in blocking that?
Yes, you'll have to coordinate that, like everybody said, with Greg Brooks, the highway road superintendent. What we'll have to be careful with is the topography of the land and the existing guardrails that are out there now. So that's going to come into play as well. But like I said, we're not talking site plan, we're talking rezoning. So you can see they've installed some guardrails where the road drops off on either side, where it's real steep.
Let me ask you a quick question too. This gentleman talking about drainage. Is it which way is it drainage? Is it drain toward him? Which way is it drain?
It drains to this low area, right here towards the southern part of the property. Then it crosses her property and then goes on to the Core's property towards the lake. But anything that they do will have to meet county standards for water quality and quantity. So we have to detain up through the 50-year storm event, and then we have to treat the water for stormwater quality as well.
And all that water already comes over on me now. And when they get done, how much more is going to come? There's no pipe there. There's one under the interstate, and the rest of it comes on me, comes out through my yard, and I'm constantly fighting with it.
Right, and they'll have to incorporate, I believe there is some runoff from 840 that comes onto the property. They'll have to incorporate that with their plan and make sure they don't increase the rate of runoff leaving the site.
So water across here would not be increased. There'd be a way to slow it down.
That's our rules. That's our rules.
It'd have to not be worse than it is right now.
Right. So they'll evaluate the property, see what water is leaving the site for every storm, 2, 5, 10, 25, and 50-year storm event, and they'll model that right now, how much water is leaving the site, and then what their improvements will obviously increase the runoff from their site, but they have to capture that and slowly release it over time so it meets the pre-development rates, so what it was before.
Right. He's talking about all these lot drivers, you know, all these people coming off the interstate now, of course, they think something's on our exit because, you know, the racetrack's there. So we get all that traffic, and now he's going to increase it with that much more, but he's not told us how many lot drivers and who's going to control that, or who's going to oversee that to make sure you don't have the 267 different drivers coming. Who's going to oversee that to make sure that don't happen? You know, people in and out your neighborhood, I love people. You know, I'm a people person. I don't mind being around people all the time. But when they're coming in and out your neighborhood like that, and you've got kids and grandkids right there beside the road, it's not good.
Thank you.
Get on the mic. Come to the mic.
Get in trouble at work all the time. I just got a couple of questions. So if this zoning goes through, how hard would it be for them to rezone it to where there's truckers sleeping there? I mean, would they have to go and rezone it again, or because they're already zoned for this type of activity, could they just go ahead and change it a year from now, 6 months from now?
Well,
whatever?
the EAC district, which stands for Employment Activity Center, does allow for a wide range of uses. Now, could a truck stop be there? I mean, to answer your question, yeah, it could. Now,
no more rezoning, correct?
Well, correct, with no more rezoning, but there are a lot of site issues with this particular property. You know, we've already been talking about there's no utilities. There's no, or very limited, at least as far as we know, septic soil on the property. It'd be difficult to place something like that there because obviously if they're going to put a truck stop, they're going to want to have bathroom facilities. They're not going to be able to provide anything like that. So they would never be able to get building permits. Now, if sewer is ever extended out that way, if water is ever extended out that way, you know, that may change things. But until that time, just because the zoning would allow it, I mean, it does, but the constraints with the site, I think, would preclude a lot of the different uses, which I think is why they're asking for this use to begin with, is because it doesn't require any kind of utilities, except for, you know, obviously he was talking about lighting and cameras for monitoring electric. I mean, that is probably fairly simple compared to the sewer and water service out in the area. So
let me just tell you guys a little bit who is not familiar with the Mona Road area.
If you talking.
Oh, I'm sorry. So this area right here, right across the street, when you see the cul-de-sac there, right across the street is a very old log cabin, which people live in. He puts on a heck of a 4th of July fireworks show, but literally right across the street. So when these truckers are coming down, and you hear them all through the night because you hear the beeping, you know, and their air brakes going off and on. But when they're coming down and they're backing up in front of his house already, and then, you know, coming back onto Bill France and turning around, how much more are we going to hear? How much more noise are we going to have to put up? How much, you know, what time of night? Are they going to be doing this all during the time? Is it 24/7? You know, it is residential, and let me tell you something, there's some great deer on that property as well, too. Seen 3 this morning going to work, going right across there. It's absolutely beautiful. You think it's nothing, but, you know, we didn't move out there for nothing. We moved out there because of the peacefulness and the wildlife, and it was great. But I was curious about that rezoning, so thank you very much.
Anyone else have a comment? I'll declare the public hearing closed again. Let me say just one particular thing. I didn't mean to slam the hammer on the gentleman that was talking before, but he was out of order, and I let it go on for a little while, and we can't let that happen. We can't let people start getting into arguments, okay? We can't let that happen, and I apologize for my abruptness, but it's my job, okay? Let me see if I could maybe wrap this up in my own mind a little bit. There's a piece of property that's out there that's really not being used for anything other than some things that you guys have, that live in that area, have described that is offensive to you. Our job is to make a determination tonight whether this piece of property is suitable to be rezoned for what it's asked for. If we decide that it's yes, then the owners of that property will have to present a site plan that will address and eliminate every single solitary objection that you have. And I mean every one of them. There could be an issue with noise or something that we can't do anything about. But the using the restroom, the turning around where they're not supposed to, the pulling off to the side of the road, will all be addressed and will be eliminated. So our job tonight is to figure out, is this piece of property that's scheduled for some type of residential development suitable to be rezoned to some type of commercial or industrial or an employment zone like we're talking about. And once again, our job is to take a look at this and say, will it ever be developed into a residential piece of property? And the answer is probably not. So if you're the owner of that piece of property, what are you going to do with it? It is sitting right on an interstate. And we're looking constantly this day and time for where are we going to put these types of developments. If we don't put it there, where are we going to put it? Those are all the questions that this commission is trying its best to work through. And it's not an easy situation. And if I've heard, we've moved out there 15, 20 years ago for the peace and quiet. If I've heard it once, I've heard it 10,000 times. I've been up here for 30 years. And I'm a Rutherford County native. I've never lived anyplace else, okay? So I know exactly what you're talking about. Our county is growing by 700 new people every month. 700 new people every month. These types of developments, since the cities are by law, state statute, are landlocked, a lot of these developments now are going out into the county, and it's our decision to make those types of things, and they're not easy decisions to make. So no matter what we do, we're probably wrong from somebody's perspective. But our job tonight is to try to decide, is this piece of property suitable for that type of zoning? And if it's yes, we think that it is proper for that type of zoning, then the applicant or the developer is going to have to submit a detailed site plan, traffic studies, maybe even road improvements into that area. All of those things consider safety and the security of the community. So we'll be doing our very best according to our rules and policies to ensure that your concerns are all addressed to the umpteenth degree and to the very best of our ability. So your concerns are valid, and I think all of us agree to that, and we have a feel for what you're saying. The other half of that is, what do we do with this piece of property? We have an owner who owns this piece of property and says, it's my piece of property. I should be able to do what I want to do with it depending upon your rules and regulations. So that's kind of where we are. I'm not by any stretch of the imagination trying to belittle all of your concerns. But once again, I've been around here a long time. Craig, how long have you been on this commission?
I think we're twins on the time.
So he's been on it longer than I have, and we've seen a lot, and we will continue to see a lot, and we will continue to see this type of objection as we develop and develop and develop and grow. So once again, our job is to try to marry the two, the development from a residential perspective, and then our need for commercial, industrial, and residential all together. So we work hard. We update our comprehensive plan. We update our subdivision regulations on a regular basis as we see fit. So all in all, your concerns are really valid. We take them to heart. I know our staff takes them to heart. And the traffic issues that you have out there, Doug, Mike, will they not be addressed at site plan?
Yes, they'll have to meet our, like you stated, without them meet our county requirements when it comes to that. And we've already mentioned some of the concerns that we had regarding the road conditions.
So all in all, your objections we think will be addressed. That doesn't mean we're going to rezone this thing, okay? But if it is rezoned, your thoughts would be important to us as we go through the site plan on this, okay? I'm not a preacher, but that's the end of my sermon. Thank you. Okay.
I'm sorry this ladies and the communities had to put up with what they had to put up with so long to have to come here to be objecting something for us to help them to get over a bad situation out there. And I think we can do that. I think that everything we talked about that we can will help them. And if we live up to our promises of what we will do, we'll just have to. A couple things I'd like to see, maybe probably if the curve's not bad, is make the entrances up a little further where they're not right down there. Of course, restroom facilities, the drainage that won't come off onto this gentleman anymore and this lady anymore than it has been already. And if we can work with the county road board to stop that not the cul-de-sac, but the parking that's been going on all these years, that needs to be stopped. I know there's a lot of places like that in the county where people, and they just pull trucks off and just leave them there, go home for the weekend. And there's a lot of those places that need to be addressed, but those people hadn't come in here telling us about them like these people have. I make a motion to approve it, but I want these people to know we're going to do the best we can to make that a better place than they've ever known it to be.
Thank you, Craig. We have a motion to approve, and we have a second. Now, further discussion and comment.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say a couple of things. In looking at this development and other developments we've approved or rezonings we've approved, there could be a lot worse and more invasive things going in there. It sounds like this is going to be ferrying trailers back and forth and not, when I came in here I thought it was going to be another truck stop, which it doesn't have the utilities or the infrastructure to support that. But I have this feeling that being right next to the interchange, that the development as it's proposed, or the thoughts that they've given us on conceptual, what they would like to do there, that you're going to have more lighting, you're going to have more cameras, or you're going to put a little spotlight on the area, so to speak. I don't mean lighting that's going to be invasive to the people, but that little bit of extra traffic may alleviate some of those problems of that dark at night parking of those trucks that are from who knows where, that are at the end of their time. So it may solve a little bit of that problem by putting something in there that has a little more, not over amount of activity, but some activity that at least keeps people moving through there, that maybe that'll do away with some of that stop and go or overnight traffic. Who knows? That's speculation, but it feels like to me that we may get a good result out of this, hopefully, and all the things that Craig mentioned as well.
Other comments, other questions? Once again, we have a motion and a second to approve the rezoning of REZ 22-020 Mona Partners 1 from residential medium density to EAC, which is Employment and Activity Center. All those in favor of the motion to approve, please say aye. Opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you. Once again, this rezoning request will be heard before the full Rutherford County Commission, and they will make the decision. This is a recommending body, and they'll make the decision on September the 15th here in this courtroom at about 6:30 p.m. Our next meeting is a 9 a.m. meeting. It'll be August the 22nd here in this courtroom. Anything else? Thank you, Commissioners, for your attendance and your participation in tonight's meeting. I'd also like to thank the public for their participation in tonight's meeting. With that, we are adjourned.